Hey humans, how's it going? Susan Ruth here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Human Podcast. This is episode 448, and my guests are Sharae Foxie and Zeke Goodman. They are starring in Stephen Laughton's new play, One Jewish Boy, directed by Chris Fields. It's going to be at Los Angeles' Echo Theater from March 22nd through April 28th, with special performances 19th, 20, and 21 that are in the Pay As You Can program. And I talked with these two about acting, obviously, because they are actors, but about theater in general, about performance, about the differences between television and film and theater, about how one becomes the character and what that does to the psyche. We covered a whole lot of stuff. I'm really excited to see this performance, and I wanted to make sure to get this interview out before, obviously, the show is run, so that if you are in the area and you would like to go see some great theater, you will have the chance. I'm really excited to see the show. Check out HeyHumanPodcast.com for links and to learn more about my guests and the show. Hey Human is on YouTube under Official Susan Ruth. I'm on Patreon at Susan Ruthism, TikTok and Instagram is Susan Ruthism. And you can check out SusanRuth.com to learn more about me and my other artistic endeavors. And you can find my albums on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever you get your music. Rate, review, and subscribe to Hey Human Podcast on Apple, iHeart, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you for listening. Be well, be kind, and here we go. Zeke Goodman, Sharae Foxie, welcome to Hey Human.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really good to see you both. We are specifically talking about One Jewish Boy, which is the play that you are both in. However, every Hey Human, I like to start talking about where y'all are from and what shaped you into who you are today. So let's start. Sharae, you want to jump in?
So I grew up in San Jose, and many things have shaped me. But I'd say my family, I'm pretty close with my siblings. We are all creative in some sort of way. And what brought me to LA, I think originally it was dancing. Then that kind of went out the window. And then I got into wanting to make films, and then that went out the window, and acting has kind of just been the thing.
Making films as in the writer director person, or making
I was at Pasadena City College and started taking film classes over there, and then I ended up on stage, and that's how this all started. So
yeah. And did you study acting as a kid? Did you do that high school drama thing that so many
No, not at all. I think when I was I played sports. I played basketball. I didn't really get to the theater until Pasadena City College, to be honest. And then I did some training in New York at the William Esper Studio, and then kind of finished my Meisner training over here. But I kind of just hopped around in different acting classes. So.
And Zeke, what about you?
I'm a fellow Californian. I'm Los Angeles born and bred, right in the middle of the city too, right near the corner of Santa Monica and La Brea. So little eastern corner of West Hollywood, a very Russian area. My folks are both creative people, very talented. My mom's a writer. She started writing when she was pregnant with me. And my dad is a cameraman, and I kind of watched them both. He's a DP. And I watched them kind of both build their careers, and they're super sweet, grounded, hardworking people. And I did do the whole youth theater thing. Could not get enough of it. If you asked what I wanted to be when I was 8 years old, it would have been a knight or an actor. And I think honestly being an actor was kind of just a way to be a knight. When it came time for me to leave high school, growing up here, I felt like it was a very narrow focused community. Growing up in Los Angeles, a lot of creative people, and my parents were very encouraging of me spreading my wings, and I think very discouraging of me following an acting path. Supportive, but discouraging. I think they wanted me to see what else was out there. So I went to school back on the East Coast. Did not study acting, but I was doing comedy and improv and theater the whole time I was out there, and writing plays. And then I tried to do other stuff and got basically nowhere. And so I moved to Chicago right after graduating with like a play in my pocket. And I joined an improv theater there called IO.
Oh, I was great.
Yeah. And I did their training program. And then I was at a theater also called The Annoyance, which is kind of like the more punky DIY theater there. Founded by a guy named Mick Napier, who's kind of like a Chicago comedy legend. And I had a show there, and I was doing the training program at IO, and I ended up getting on there like, you end up joining the ensemble. So I was basically like in the cadet program to be on the ensemble, which was great, but I was very unhappy. So I took an acting class again, which I had been avoiding for a long time, kind of push-pull and judgment, and a bunch of other stuff had happened in between. And then I ended up getting an agent there and going out for a lot more stuff. And I wanted to train seriously. So I applied to some grad schools and got into the MFA program at USC. So I came back to LA and I never intended to come back here. And I had a great experience there. And then the pandemic hit and I took a leave of absence and I booked a TV show. I left school and I started working. And that's been the past 4 years. Yeah. And I did a show at the Echo. Right when I finished that TV show, I was like kind of in the wilderness, and a couple of friends of mine from USC who had finished were doing this play, and I had heard about it, and I love theater, and I really wanted to do it. So that was the first time that I did. That was my first professional show and first Echo show.
Echo has a New York / Chicago vibe to it, I feel like.
There's definitely a muscularity and like, yeah, that kind of like red-blooded, like no holds barred American theater thing. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which TV show were you in?
I was in an Amazon show called I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was like a reboot of the old movie, but very different. So I did that on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Yeah. I bet that was an interesting experience.
That was a crazy experience, which I don't know if we have time to go into every facet of it in this forum. Another time I will detail all of the twists and turns of that, because there was a lot there.
Were you the killer? No spoilers.
Well, everyone's seen the show, but I was definitely playing a really troubled guy. I'll put it that way.
I look at somebody like Evan Peters, who is playing these psychopaths over and over and over again. And if you are a good actor who is embodying the person whom you are becoming, then I cannot imagine that the brain can differentiate between, I'm playing a part and I am the part and I am this person. Yeah. It must get quite convoluted when you are eating that kind of emotion.
Sharae and I were kind of talking about this right at the beginning, because the play deals with definitely some emotionally active and not all only positively emotionally active material. And I had a teacher in school, voice teacher, Natsuko Ohama, she's brilliant voice teacher. And she always used to say, in grad school, like they make you refer to the character in first person. Like whenever you're playing the character, it's I. They're very like serious, like I. And different people have different opinions about that. But like Natsuko would always tell us, character's not all of you, a character's part of you. And you're infinite and the character's finite. Because the character only exists on the page or on the stage when you're living through it, right? And so I think part of the way, when I was younger, I did not really understand stamina or compartmentalization at all. But I think a lot of the game is accessing that part of yourself and then taking care of it and then taking care of the rest of yourself so that you can go there without it being like overly taxing or painful. That's like the empathetic proposition of acting, right? Is that like you can relate to you can feel what another person is feeling without having it be your whole life or being. You have to have a aesthetic and ironic distance, because otherwise you have no perspective anymore. You don't know what you're doing. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer.
No, I mean, that's a great answer. Sharae, how do you feel about it? Where is your line of saving self in the face of having to play intense people?
I love the way, because Zeke definitely gave me that gem of just the separation of it. But I don't think I do that. Like, I try to take care of myself in that way, but I think when there's just a lot of overlap in the kind of like backstory in the work that I'm doing, it's kind of hard to separate that sometimes. And sometimes I find myself fighting it, and I'm just like, it's okay. I'll just like, I'm playing Alex, and I'm just like, okay, Alex, you want to come through? We'll just come through. So there's no set time that I'm doing work. If something like comes to me, it'll be in the shower when I'm cooking, then that's when she's like in the room with me. So I think of it as like a spirit. That's how I approach these things, or whether I want to approach it that way or not. It just kind of, I think someone was like, oh, the character kind of possesses you. And I was like, I don't like that, but I like to just give them a little bit of room to come through when they want to. And then I'm like, okay, I'm clocking out. I'm going to sleep now.
It's interesting to give the character that kind of autonomy too. Is that imagine that makes them that much stronger and believable when the time comes.
I think like there's going to be some point where it doesn't feel like that, but there's still a lot that I'm figuring out with her, and so I just kind of let her hang out with me, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah. Zeke?
I definitely feel that on the bleed over, and it's almost like whatever the points of contact are, like you're talking about, Sharae, where it's like, oh, there's overlap, right, immediately. I think sometimes the way I look at it is like, maybe a spirit or whatever that thing is like, oh, well, this is the thing that holds, like where the overlap is like, this is kind of like the embodiment of those things in me. So it's like, it's a person in and of itself, but like the way you enter through is that stuff. And so it's like always hanging around. I think part of the thing when I was younger is that I had a harder time trusting that thing to just hang around. I'd be like, oh, I need to serve it in some kind of way. Like your job is to kind of just like be available for it to like flow through you and to kind of trust it and to know it's not trying to harm you. Not to get too woo-woo about all this stuff.
I guess I'm very woo-woo because
I'm
rituals. Like I'll do rituals. So like I'm like, okay, like my clocking out is like, I literally am like, we're going to sleep, Alex, and I'm like, I am me and you. Like it's an interesting thing, and it's not like that with every character. But you were talking specifically about like intense characters. Luckily, she's not I don't think she's a very intense or toxic person to me, but so I'm okay with her hanging around. But yeah, there's some other times where I've had to just really compartmentalize and up the self-care about it. So
there are times when I watch actors and I look in their eyes and I think, oh, this is the actor playing the person. And there are other times when I look in their eyes and I say, oh, they are the person. I remember it when I was watching, do you guys remember the movie Ray? Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
And I remember sitting in the theater watching this movie, and at some point I forgot I was watching Jamie Foxx playing Ray Charles. I truly forgot, and then he did one little thing or something, and it kind of brought. I was like, "Oh wait, oh yeah!" It had completely left my mind. Whereas actors, like I love Robert De Niro. Who doesn't love Robert De Niro? But these days he's always Robert De Niro playing a person, and that's kind of a different vibe altogether. People hired Robert De Niro to be Robert De Niro, but if you watch Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, he was that character. Am I making any sense at all?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
And it's like that thing of you. I would imagine you would almost have to be possessed. Not that that's a great word, but you would almost have to be in order for the eyes to show it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what part of it is? I was talking with a friend about this last night. Like everybody has a different way for them to feel prepared to be present in the moment. And like the thing that I've been finding is whatever I need to do to basically be empty, to use like almost a Buddhist term, or like available is another way to put it. That's the key. Because I think part of that, like sometimes it's actually very pleasurable to watch someone where you see that they have an awareness that they're performing. There's certain kinds of work it's really necessary to have that ironic distance. But in terms of being that, like I feel the difference you're talking about is someone who's really there. Like they're just actually there in the moment. That thing about availability and emptiness, and like every actor has chatter, right? There's always chatter. But like it's more about, for me at least lately, I've been finding not preferencing that over what I'm actually doing in the moment. It's like that's there and then this is like here and they're kind of equal. Like they're just all stuff that you're encountering, you're dealing with, you're responding.
You've both done work that is play and film, television, all of that. When you're acting in a play, it's got to be that much more of a high wire act, especially the playwright's words. It's like Aaron Sorkin, his words are impeccable, right? And what is that like? Is it just an incredible rush every single time? Or do you eventually fit into the feeling of it all?
It's so, obviously there's no stops or pauses. So the world, for me at least, has to be very, very lived in and imagined, because you're not on a complete full set. And so for me, it's a really interesting way of being in that world and being like really locked in, because there are no pauses or stops or redos. So it feels like a rush whenever we've done just in rehearsals, like going from beginning to the end of the play. It feels so fast. Like, at least for me, when we've done it, it feels very fast. Like when we're done, I'm like, that's it. And I know we're there for at least an hour and a half, but it feels very, very fast and long at the same time. It's so weird.
I'm sure you've heard actors say before, like good writing is easier, right? Like it's much easier. And I think that the way I kind of like to think about it is that good writing is there for you to do the job. Like it's harder to do when thoughts and feelings don't connect and they're not grounded to the circumstances in the scenario, right? Like that's a struggle. But in terms of servicing the playwright, like the servicing actually comes from allowing the words to do their job. And that like it's like making it easier, which allows you to make things easier and allows you to do it better. I feel like it's really easy to get caught up in, a kind of reverence or duty to the playwright, and like definitely that respect, and you got to be generous. But I kind of like to think more of it as an act of generosity, which is like the playwright's done something, has literally given me the means to express myself. And so then the way that I match that generosity is to just kind of give over and kind of trust the words. And that's the process to me. The process is like, how can I trust the words, what's on the page more and more and more? Like people revere Shakespeare, but Shakespeare was there for people to go have a good time and put on a good show 400 years ago or whatever, It wasn't there to like be important, And most work that's like meant to be important is really boring and bad. No one enjoys it very much, even if they say they do.
Well, and the playwright has to trust the actors so much in that, not just that they're going to deliver what's written on the page, but that they're going to deliver what isn't written on the page, that can't be facilitated by stage prop and lighting and all the bells and whistles that go into television and film that are non-existent. When I've seen some theater where there's this, a stick and a sheet and with a tree drawn on it. And it's been phenomenal because the magic of what is being said and done creates this whole universe it breathes it into existence where you believe it's in there. You believe it's there. As an improv person, you understand that you have to create things out of nothing in a believable way. This is why I think I enjoy theater so much. It's fun to see what happens in the space as much as to hear the words flowing by,
Well, it's what you're pointing out too, I think is like, it's everybody. So it's like, we're doing the playwright a favor, the playwright's doing us a favor, and the audience is doing us a favor, and we're doing the audience a favor. And if like everybody is in a generous spirit, then things really tend to click.
Yeah, that's a communion of it. Tell me how you both felt reading the play for the first time and going through the audition process and how one might embody a character in an audition versus once you've lived with it. Obviously, you get to know the character more and more and become it. But in that first experience, for people listening who maybe think, oh, maybe I could do that sort of thing, what is some advice for that?
When I first read the script, I wept like a baby because there was just so much love. I'm such a lover girl. There was just so much love in it, and I really loved how natural the dialogue was. Like, it just felt like there's a lot of there's like a bit of voyeurism to this. Like, it just felt like I was like watching a couple. I mean, going through a span of many years, but I loved the time jumping of it. And just the different iterations of themselves, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I think I just fell in love with both of them immediately. Advice for anyone, I don't even know if I'm qualified to give any advice about I think it was the first time in a really long time that I read something that was felt like in my heart and spirit. And I was like, I really want to do this. Like, this is before it was even a thought for them to do a full production of it. This was in October when we did like an internal reading of the play. And at the time I had a different Jesse. I had a whole different husband, but it was just to read it in front of people, to read it out loud. But I remember working on it and getting the accent down enough because I was like, I want to plant a seed and I want Chris to see that there's something here. And I remember we did the reading and I could see the cogs turning and he was like, do we have something? And I was like, yes, we do. So my advice is to just be a con artist and tell them they have to do the play. But I don't know. I don't really have any advice other than like I read it. It was really felt. It resonated in some ways, and I felt like it was like a dream role. I was like, it'd be such a dream to do something like this. So I'm here now, but that's all I've got. I don't know. I think I just believed in it and them, and I really care about the love of it. I really care about Jesse, and I really care about Alex, and I really care about the both of them.
I just want to say one thing about Sharae that I think is part of what makes your work so good and maybe helps you get a role like this, which is that like you really don't front like at all. And I think that a lot of actors, there's like a kind of trap, which is, I'm talking about auditioning too, which is that like we think we have to like achieve a certain kind of thing in order to get the role. And sometimes that's true, but like we didn't really audition for the play because we did this public, like I know they did an internal reading and then Chris asked me to do the public reading.
That's the director.
Yes, Chris Fields. And he was like, you would be perfect for this role. And I've auditioned I did a play at the Echo and I auditioned for other stuff there. I felt everything you said, Sharae, about how you feel about the play and your response to it, I'll say that's just a ditto for me, right? Like it's super meaningful and a dream kind of part and all that. Let's take that for granted. And the writing's really good. Stephen's brilliant. In terms of how you approach work though, like I think the main thing that I've thought of is your audition is always going to be a first impression. But that first impression is about who you are and what you see in relation to the part that's being offered. And so the best thing that you can do is do your best to come in. It's not just with humility, but with like a kind of acceptance that all you can do is share where the work has touched you or where you're touching the work. And I feel like the only reason that anybody's able to recognize you or think of you for something else, like that's happened to me a lot, even more than like booking something off an audition, is somebody sees something that I have done and then they ask to work with me. And I feel like that is only happening if you're truly bringing yourself to the work, because that gives you the chance to actually connect with other people and have them recognize you and feel like in communion with you. Don't try to get things right. Be yourself, have some faith, and maybe good things will happen. And if you can withstand constant rejection and feeling like you put your genuine self out there and it's not right, quote unquote, for the thing, if you can withstand that for long enough without going crazy, then you'll be fine.
Well, it also sounds like a healthy dose of vulnerability, that laying oneself open is a big part of it.
Yeah, and also not taking it personally, if that's like, that's learning that, man, that there's nothing deficient. That's my biggest advice is make it as personal as possible, every audition, everything that you're doing. That's the only way it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I watched the promo reel and in preparation, because I have not seen the play obviously yet. Shocked into compassion was such a fascinating way to say it. Tell me what you meant by that.
I mean, obviously there is a lot of love in the play, but there are some really serious and intense moments and just political things that are weaved into it. We touch on trauma, current and past. So those are really like serious, heavy things. And, you know, we're really in that world, and it can be a shock to people's systems, but I think like it can't just be a love story. I mean, that's beautiful and lovely and all, but finding the lesson, the gem, the just opening that dialogue or discourse in the chaos and in the mess, because that's also life too. If we can just like sit with that, the uncomfortable parts, you know, maybe it'll get us somewhere. And just in the way I move in my life, like sometimes it takes the uncomfortable for me to take action, or to, like, if I'm too comfortable, there's nothing at stake there. So even just right now, there's a lot of movement happening. There's a lot of protests. There's a lot of things happening. And whether they're showing it on the media or not, I mean, TikTok and Instagram exist, so it's out there. This is such an insane, potent time, but I don't think any of this would have happened in this way if our systems weren't shocked. And I think we've just been so comfortable.
Right now, as you mentioned, the idea that we sometimes need art, we oftentimes need art to help us feel or get out the stuff that has been compacted. It's so important. The trick, of course, is to have it written in such a way that it doesn't feel like you're being preached at.
Yeah.
Right? Because that turns off everyone.
I mean, I think one of the things that I really loved about the play in general, you asked earlier about like first impressions reading it, was that I felt like what I can promise anyone who comes to see the play is that it's not didactic, it's not pedantic. It's not the only lesson I think that the play really is trying to impart is that, you know, it's that thing, it's like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that fear is something that isolates us and makes us treat the world as a dangerous and fearful place. And love is the prospect of losing yourself into other people and being part of something greater than yourself. It plays more about how we cling to our fear to protect us, when in fact all it does is keep us separated from each other. Yeah. And that to me is like, that's just human stuff. It doesn't really matter. There's no real, except I guess anti-fascist or anti-racist, which the play is. There's not really a political agenda to that. You can kind of believe whatever you want about how high your taxes should be, if that's your ethos. And I found that really refreshing. I mean, I think the plays really has a lot to say about what it feels like to be a Jewish person in contemporary Western society, which is a lot about, and maybe any kind of person who has a culture that involves some kind of narrative of trauma and victimization.
Which is everyone.
Which is everybody, right? That's kind of the point. Yeah. So it is everybody.
And the aspect of love, which is also running toward oneself, which I think is the trickiest one of all.
Very hard. I mean, I feel like, Sharae, we've talked about this or talked around it. Like, there's this thing like, if you can't love anybody unless you love yourself, right? Like, kind of like trite little thing, right? But also, I think a big part of it is, if you're constantly trying to be a certain kind of person in order to be lovable or loved, you can't really meet anybody in a humane way, because you're putting so much judgment on what it takes to be lovable that no one can ever possibly match that. I think we do that culturally a lot. Everybody has to be perfect all the time. Everybody's opinions have to be perfect. Like, what everybody says has to be perfect.
Yeah, we really are in a culture of people watching what everyone says and does with such an intensity.
Yeah.
That it leaves little room for growth or self-acceptance, self-realization. There was a animated from the 70s. Meryl Streep voices the female character.
Oh,
Have you seen this?
no,
The Masks. I'm trying to
fascinating.
remember what it's called. It's really quite beautiful and tragic all together. My phone is off, or I would Google machine it. It's really quite something. And if you Google animated Meryl Streep 70s relationship love masks, you'll find it for sure. But it's really something to watch. And basically the two characters are having this conversation about their relationship, and they put on these masks in, while they're talking, and it's just, this is us moving through our lives. Who do we?
Is it called Everybody Rides the Carousel?
I think that is it.
Yeah.
Did you just Google it?
Yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah. No, I'm glad because I would have looked it up afterwards and said it in the preamble. But it's really great and heart wrenching as well.
Amazing.
But it did what you were talking about makes me think of it. So everybody watch it for sure.
Well, you know what's so heartbreaking is, and this is what makes like a good love story, is that when you can't do that with the person that you want to be closest to in the world, when you're kind of fronting with like who you think is your soulmate because you're worried that part won't be accepted, or you don't even accept it in yourself. Like, that's what's hard. The hardest thing is when two people really love each other and they can't get past a thing. Is
Trauma the third character in this story? I don't want to give too many spoilers. I want people to go see it. Obviously, people who don't live around here aren't, going to be able to go see it. But is that the third character?
It's very present. It's definitely, I mean, I think it is a character. Yeah.
Maybe Jesse's mom.
Yeah.
Mom is a very present third character.
She's very present.
Very present.
Oh my goodness.
He's a good Jewish boy.
Are you the only two actors in the
Yeah, it's two-hander.
I love it. I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah, it's fun. I think also like Sharae and I are very in tune from like the jump. Like, I think we were very lucky that we have pretty immediately had a pretty good unspoken language. Like, I barely knew her, and I remember walking into the first reading rehearsal and seeing you, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, okay, that's her. Like, don't need to worry about that. Don't think I even asked her any questions. I was like, okay, bye. And then I was like,
yeah, you didn't say anything to me.
No, I didn't say anything to her. But like, afterwards, after we did the reading, I was like, I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to be rude. It's just like, there was something so special when you meet someone and you can tell energetically that you're kind of on the same page or wavelength. I don't think we really had to earn each other's trust very much, right?
No, I don't think we've ever actually talked about this in detail.
Mm-hmm.
I know you kind of mentioned when we were going to we had a bowl-a-thon for the theater recently, and we had carpooled with Stephen. And you mentioned that like you felt like you met us in a past life.
Yes.
Is what you said then. I felt there's just something that's like almost a little like telepathic sometimes for like, I just feel like we have each other's backs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of been like that from the beginning. And yeah, so I feel very, very, very grateful. I'm so grateful that they decided to do this play one, but that they didn't hold these auditions. I'm just like, no. Like
I think, you know what, Trey, like, I think that when we went into that reading for our first rehearsal, it's so rare that things happen like this. We went to that first rehearsal. The first read through that we ever did of the play around the table with Stephen was like banging. Like, it was like firing on all cylinders. The feelings were all there. There was not like a missed beat. It all felt really good. And then we did this public reading. That was it was one of the most special theater experiences in my life, acting experiences in my life, like, period. Like, it just felt right and good. We felt like we were the right people. Chris knew that we were the right people. Stephen wrote us very lovely notes, and I feel like we've connected personally with him. And I remember after we did the reading, it was just, I have a thing about being braggadocious, so I'm not going to talk about how it went, but let's just say like it went really well. I remember afterwards, I also said to Chris, like, why are we not doing this play like immediately?
Oh, you said that to him.
Yes, I said that to him too. And I remember for like a week and a half after, I was like, I should really text Sharae and tell her how special that experience was. Like, I should really do that. I should really do that. And then I let it lie for a couple days, and it was like a Wednesday night, and my girlfriend was like, that Sharae really is amazing. Have you texted her? You should really be texting her and telling her how amazing she is. Like, you should find out what she's up to. And I was like, yeah. But there was a part of me that didn't want to open that thing because I was like, I had to like shut down the experience because it was so special that I was like, okay, if we never get to do it again, then I don't want to be so sad that we didn't, because that was that. And that's great. And I was literally, it was like a Thursday, and I was literally like, man, you know what? I'm just going to text Sharae, and I'm going to text Chris and just say how special that was. And literally, right, like maybe I was like in an appointment, and I was like, I'm going to do it right after. And I'm going to the appointment, and Chris Fields calls me and it's like, we're doing a full run of the play like last minute. It's so special when things work out like that, and it's so rare. So I guess all that's to say, I know I feel very grateful to be doing this particular play with you at this space at like this moment. It makes me very motivated to get people to come see it.
Trey, did you feel like it was that sort of, I've known you before?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I thought about it in that way, but there are people in my life, people that I've loved and cared for very deeply in my life that just, were blips or whatever, but still very important. And I haven't told you this, Zeke, but there are just things that like, you'll wear shirts that like you have this caterpillar shirt. This and I was like, is that the Hungry Caterpillar shirt? And he just has things that are very similar to people who are very special to me in my life. And so it's just so interesting where I'm looking at this person and I'm like, and just even Stephen, I've actually met him. I'm realizing that I was walking a friend's dog months and months and months ago. And I've met Stephen before, like before the play even got to me. So the lines have definitely crossed. It just kind of, it's trippy and weird, but it all makes sense too.
If it can be like, I think the way I really look at it, and I don't mean this in a sanctimonious way, where it's like, if it can be a space where the audience is experiencing the same kind of catharsis, for lack of a better term, that I think we're kind of touching, I think that there's a possibility for that to like take place.
I want to let everybody know. So in LA at the Echo Theater, it runs March 22nd through April 28th, but there's a special pay what you can March 19, 2021. So that's really cool that those options exist as well, because theater, you say theater to people and like, oh, I can't afford that, I can't afford that. And it's such a magical experience that I'm glad to see that Echo does do that. And I don't know if that was Stephen's idea, if that's just something Echo does, but it's so wonderful.
There's a lot of great theater here in LA that I think that it's not always known as a theater town, and I don't think that reputation is actually deserved. I see such good work frequently. Pay what you can, pay what you must, just go. Yeah,
absolutely. Tell everyone how to find you individually. What are your social medias? What's the best way if they want to track your success?
I just have Instagram. I'm kind of barely on the thing, but I will pop in. But yeah, it's just my first and last name, Sharae Foxie. Mm-hmm. Instagram.
Track your success is a super positive way to propose what someone would do on my Instagram.
Oh dear.
No.
I know what you did last summer.
That's right. No, mine is very professional. It's just easy.goodman.
Easy as in the letters.
Yes, like Ezekiel is my full name, and I used to have that, and Zeke Goodman was taken, so I did easy.goodman. I post everything I do there, and I've been posting about the play like for me crazy, which is like 2 posts. So
when they're leaving, how you want the audience to take this in for you, as what would be a success other than that was great, but feeling emotionally what they talk about on the car ride home.
I think something that just like kind of came up. It was so interesting because me and Chris, the director, thought of this. It was like during a 10-minute break from rehearsal, and we thought of this quote at the same time. It was just something that like embodies the feeling, the overall feeling, maybe. But I think of the quote by Ram Dass, I don't know if this is it, so it might not be word for word, but we're all just walking each other home. That's what so that I'll leave that there. We're all just walking each other home.
Big shouts to Chris Fields also for like really directing this play towards its most humane form. Right after the reading, I'm playing a young Jewish father. My dad, who's a Jewish man, came up to me after.
In real life.
Real life. My real father came up to me after the reading and said, I don't remember the exact words they said, but he basically said like, "Oh, that's been me." If anybody feels at all seen by the play and moved towards maybe a little bit of self-love afterwards, that would be a great takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much, especially short notice. Shout out to Lucy for arranging this.
Huge shouts to Lucy Pollock. Thank you.
Yeah, that was lovely of her to help facilitate this on such a short notice. I really appreciate you two, and I'm so excited to see the play, and I will be there on the Monday. I think it's the 24th. That's what I'm guessing is the 24th.
That would be the Monday after we open, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. Thank you for listening, everybody. Go see theater. It's so important, and thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Rate, review, and subscribe to Hey Human Podcast on Apple, iHeart, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks. Bye.